Hi everyone, it's Tonya Gibbs, and today I want to share with you a Christmas card tutorial. This is going to be one of those money holders or a gift card holder if you had to mail something. I'm going to feature products from Blue Fern Studios again. I've recently fallen in love with their products. This is the Noel paper from their vintage Christmas line, and then the Frolic chipboard from their coordinating chipboard. So I'm going to start out by cutting out the little motif here in the corner of the paper collection, and then I'm going to cut down the corner of the paper so that the background has this beautiful design on it. This is from the B side of the paper. I used almost the entire sheet of paper on this card just by simply cutting down the panels to use on the front as well as the inside of the card. Now, as you can see, I have taken the time to really cut out that pattern that was on the front of the Noel paper, and now I'm going to take my tea-dyed distress stain and distress up all of the pieces that have been cut out. This is just going to kind of mask out that white core of the paper and give everything a really nice clean finished look. It hides some of the imperfections from where you cut as well. Then I got to thinking about it and I was like, I could add a little bit more depth if I cut out the window area here where the little girl is in the paper collection. So I'm going to go ahead and cut her away as well, and then what's going to happen is the flowers are going to actually be raised up higher than she is, so it's going to give a really nice depth of field. My card base is a standard number 10 letter size, so it is cut to 7.5 by 8.5 and then scored at 3.5. So folded, it will be 3.5 by 8.5. And then the panels that you see from the decorative paper are actually cut to 3.25 inches by 8.25 inches, so you leave a little bit of a border around. And there are 3 of those panels cut. There are 2 on the inside and then 1 on the outside. Now I'm just cutting a piece of chipboard and using it to elevate my design. Since this has the look of a trellis, I really wanted to maintain that chipboard naked look. So I just wanted to intensify it a little more, just kind of like it was a piece of trellis that was out in your garden and just had weathered over time. But if it had snowed, it would have a little bit of icicles on it and have that little bit of sparkle. So I've pulled out a clear embossing powder that has a holographic glitter in it. So that's what you see there is me heat embossing that trellis with that. So it has a really nice sheen to it, but it's still maintained that natural look. So I'm just going to go ahead and start gluing my pieces down now and start building out the layers for the front panel of my card. I also want to remind you that there is a link to the blog post down below that has beautiful photos of all of the details here, as well as a list of all of the supplies that were used for today. And you can find that link down in the description box below. So to start with my layering, I am using some cheesecloth at the base. That's just going to give it that whimsical little flyaway look. And then I'm also going to start adding my trellis at the top. I'm going to hold off on adding it to the bottom until I get the other elements down, just so I don't end up covering it up. I've only added glue to the top portion of my rose section for now because I have this little piece that I fussy cut out of the little girl, and I need to be able to slip it in so that it fits exactly where I cut it, or else it's going to have an awful transition area. So I wanted to get that in place before I started adding more glue and really gluing things around. And you'll see me as I'm adding the hot glue, I'm being very careful to only add a small amount, and then I'm wiggling it into place until that glue has a chance to really dry. So that's what you see me doing, because those lines are very specific and it needs to line up exactly. These flowers are some that I've had in my stash for a while. They came in bulk. I'm not really sure who makes them, but they remind me a lot of white poinsettias. So I decided to use these, and they're very lightweight and very small. Like I said, I've had them for a long time. It's a great opportunity to use them. For those of you who are new to my channel, you'll find that when I use something new, like the paper collection, I typically try to go into my stash and find something that I've had for a really long time and use it as well. So I encourage you to do the same. If you have purchased a paper collection that you really like, or something new that you really like and you want to use it, go into your stash, find something old to marry with it so that you can use what you have as well. So I am going to use those as my base flower today. Again, they just remind me a lot of poinsettias. This is a gold Wink of Stella pen. There was some areas that I felt needed a little bit of sparkle, so I'm just going to touch those areas with this gold Wink of Stella. Some of those areas are the trellis. I just felt it needed just a little kick of sparkle. It's not a lot, it's very subtle because it is a dark gold. I've also added this to the drum, and I've also added it to some of the other brass elements. I think there's a bell or something inside of this paper. I could be wrong, but there's some other elements there in the printed area that I've just touched with this gold. Now I'm adding a few more poinsettias up there at the top, and now you can really see when the light hits it, that gold sparkle. This is fake snow, and it really truthfully is very clear. I was hoping it would be a little wider, but it turned out it was okay, but I was really kind of hoping it would be white. But this is, I'm applying it with some of the Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft gel medium. I'm putting the gel medium down in the the valleys of the trellis, and then I'm just adding this. It's kind of like a plastic, and it's real fine, but it's where you get the fake snow for Christmas villages. That's what this is. So since it needed a little more sparkle, I've decided to go into my German glass glitter collection, and I've pulled out this as like a pink color, and I really liked it, so I went ahead and added a little bit of that in there too. That just gives it a little bit more sparkle. Again, back in that holiday home decor section, I found these stems of berries, and they're on wires. They're little glass beads, and they're in varying sizes. I've had these in my stash for a really, really long time. I bought them on clearance a couple of years back. So I'm just cutting some of those with wire cutters and tucking them in and around. Don't worry about the wires. We're going to cover the majority of those up in a few minutes. But I'm using these as holly berries, and I really like the look of it. I'm trying to choose some of the smaller bead sizes since I do intend to mail this card. So once I get all my berries in place, it's time to start thinking about some holly branches. So I've gone into my stash and pulled out some jelly prints that I made over the summer. This is an excellent thing to do with these prints. I'm just going to take a Martha Stewart holly punch and just punch out some of these little hollies, and then I'm going to strategically place these over the tops of the wires. This is going to hide them and give also that little added touch. Now, since I do my jelly printing on lightweight paper, it isn't going to add a whole lot of bulk or a whole lot of weight to this design. Also notice that the paper has a little bit of a gold shimmer to it too. So sometimes if my jelly prints are a little bit flat, I'll just hit them with a little bit of Lindy Stamp Gang or something to give them a little bit of depth. So instead of you watching me tuck all those holly leaves in, I fast forwarded up a little bit. This is a Melissa Francis frame, and I didn't want to add another sentiment to this card because the word Noel is there under the little girl, and I felt it would compete. So to bring more presence to that word, I decided to take one of these frames. This is just a resin frame from, like I said, Melissa Francis. I'm coloring it with that gold Wink of Stella to give it that nice antique vintage frame look. I'm going to let it dry really well, and then I am going to add some gel medium to the back of it and frame out that word Noel. And that really is going to call attention to the word and really make my sentiment come to life. Keep in mind that hot glue does not stick to these resin pieces very well, and I didn't want this to pop off in the mail, so that's why I'm using the gel medium on this. And once it has a chance to bond, it will be there for life. So let's go ahead and work on the inside panel of my card. I wanted to go back to that paper collection and cut out some more of these panels, and I'm really being very careful to use up the paper. I don't like to have scraps if I can avoid it. Now I've taken a dollar bill and I've cut a slit in this paper that's the width of the dollar bill so that I can easily slip it in and out of a pocket. So that's essentially what we're going to make here, is a little pocket on the left hand side. I didn't want to put it on the right hand side because I did want to be able to go back later and add a sentiment and write a nice message on the inside of the card. So of course the person I'm giving this to, I intend to give a little more than $1, but you guys understand, I'm using it more as a measurement. Now here's a fun little fact for you if you do not know this about American money. I use this all the time for measuring. A dollar bill is exactly 2 3/4 inches wide and is exactly 6 inches long. So if for some reason you are out and about and you need to measure something, you always have a dollar bill is exactly 6 inches long. So you can fold it in half to get 3 inches and in half again to get 1.5 inches. It's a little trivia while we'll build out our little embellishment here. So to hide the pocket, I like lots of layers, but I did need to leave this very flat, and of course I'm the queen of scraps, so I decided to go back to those little pieces of scraps that I have been fiddling with while making this paper collection. I fussy cut out some of the design there from the border, and now I've taken a Marvy pennant punch and punched out a couple of those longer pennants, and then the doily that you see there is an MFT die, and then I've also cut out a couple of little pieces from a Jenny Bolin blue ribbon punch that's from Fiskars, and I just made a simple little banner down at the bottom. There's no like real fanciness to this at all. I didn't want it to be too bulky because I did need to close it and I needed it to stay closed. Plus keep in mind I'm going to mail this, so I really wanted it to stay as flat as possible. I am going to use some dimensional adhesive on the back of the sentiment, and this sentiment did come from the paper collection. It came from the greeting cards paper, so I highly recommend getting that as well. And for my final touch, I'm going to add a little bit of glossy accents to the center of this frame. Since it had to sit overnight to dry, I did not want to add that before I did the inside panel. So that's really going to give my frame a really awesome finished look. As you can see here, it just really finished it off. So again, if you want to see more detailed photos, you know, and up close and personal, just go over to my blog. The link is down below. As you can see here, the berries just really pop here using those beautiful beads. The design is still relatively flat, so it will easily mail. It might be a little heavier. You may have to include a little bit more postage, but that's okay too. And then here's the inside pocket. Once again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you've enjoyed this process video. If you did, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button down the bottom if you're not already a subscriber. And don't forget to share this with a friend, leave me a comment, and a thumbs up.